Greetings and salutations. Thank you for clicking on this video. Today I want to talk about this lovely little computer that I found on eBay. It showed up last week. I've been looking for a laptop because the corner where the hinge goes in to my HP just disintegrated. Now that's an HP EliteBook that is in an aluminum case. So I guess it was metal fatigue or something like that that made it fall apart. So I found this little guy. It is a Dell Studio. It's an Inspiron 1750. And it's a few years old now. I worked on one of these for a client, I don't know, maybe about a couple of years ago, and I really liked it. So when this popped up, I went, I think I'm going to pick this one up. I also looked at System 76 to buy a new laptop. System 76 is a company that builds computers specifically designed to run on Linux, and I was looking at financing one of those, but I decided to wait a little while, and this will do in the meantime. So there's some positives and some negatives about this computer I want to get into. Oh, and before I move on from this page, I want to say that this seller right here, he does pretty good stuff, and he sells refurbished computers, and the computer arrived exactly as advertised, and as you can see, it came loaded with Windows, but we ain't running Windows. But anyway, moving on, here is a picture of the computer as it is sitting in my living room on my little table here. I've got it propped up. I was working on it yesterday, and I was loading it with Ubuntu 16.04 when this picture was taken. And you'll see my 2004 Emerson television in the background there. I had a lightning strike about 2 years ago. I had this great big Hitachi television, beautiful HD TV, gorgeous. Had a lightning strike that wiped out every piece of electronics in this house. And so my backup was this 2004 Emerson that Cindy had over at her mother's house. So we went over and got it and plugged it in, and that's been my TV. So I'm definitely not watching television in HD. And someday I might get a nice TV, but I have to be content with the computer for now to watch HD stuff. Anyway, so here's the computer, and it is a monster computer. It's a huge laptop, and I like that. It's got a 17-inch monitor. It's very easy to see. And it does have a built-in DVD drive. Thank you very much. I really like to have a DVD drive around. I still use a lot of optical media. I know that the rest of the world thinks I'm crazy at this point, but you know what? I have several thousand DVDs and CDs. No, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit. No, I'm not, actually. I actually started counting the stuff. So anyway, I like to have the drive built into the machine. It's no big deal. A lot of the new laptops, they're really skinny and they don't have optical drives in them, but you can always get an external optical drive that you can hook in through USB. It works just as well. So I wanted that. Also, you see we got a full keyboard here. It's a pretty nice keyboard. It is not backlit. It just is what it is. And you got a number pad, so that's nice. And then the machine was just in really good condition. This is a picture of the front. There's no scratches or anything on it. So that is awesome. So those are the pluses about the machine. And now I want to get into a couple of the negatives. Well, first of all, in this picture you see me installing Ubuntu 16.04. I ended up trying 3 different flavors of Ubuntu on this machine. The first thing I did was take the SSHD out of the HP laptop and put it in this machine to boot it up. You can do that. It's a trick I've done a lot of times. And as long as you don't have any proprietary drivers installed, usually taking a hard drive out of one machine and putting it in another, if it does not have the lovely UEFI crap on it, then it will just boot right up. If it's an old master boot record drive and the BIOS in the machine is designed to work with that, or all the secure boot and UEFI stuff is turned off, then it'll work just fine. Well, it did work, and I was able to get it to run, and it actually was nice. And The problem that I ended up having was that the Wi-Fi in this computer needs a driver to run. It's a Broadcom Wi-Fi, no big deal. So the problem was that when I just booted it up, I couldn't get anything to work. No Wi-Fi. It acted like the Wi-Fi was going to work, but it wouldn't connect. And then when I plugged an Ethernet cable into it, it still didn't connect. It wouldn't do anything. There was just absolutely no access whatsoever. So I decided it would probably be better to do a clean install anyway. So I grabbed Ubuntu 16.04 with Unity. I figured I would give that a shot first. And it did install and everything went okay. The problem was the network manager didn't want to work right, even after the driver was installed. I could get an Ethernet connection, but the Wi-Fi was crazy. And I noticed that when I was installing Ubuntu Mate on all these machines, that Ubuntu Mate will ask you for every user account, when you log in, it will ask for the Wi-Fi password. Whereas the behavior that I'm used to is that you set it up with the administrator account, you say, here's the Wi-Fi network, and then that will work with all of the other accounts, and they won't even have to fool with it, and they won't have to connect to it. Whatever you connect to with the administrator account will automatically work on the secondary user accounts. Not Mate. But it worked. I didn't have any major problems with it. Big deal. You got to put in the Wi-Fi every time. Somewhere between the time that Ubuntu 16.04 was in beta and the time that it was released, the final release, something went majorly wrong with the entire networking part of the system, especially Network Manager. And a lot of people have been telling me that they have been running into these issues. I had one client who absolutely could not get Ubuntu 16.04 anything to work on his machine. That's exactly what happened with this one. It would not work. I booted it off of Manjaro, and I was able to actually get Manjaro installed and updated. The only problem was that once I got it updated, it wasn't working very well at all, but I didn't have any problems with the Wi-Fi, and I didn't have any problems installing the driver. I had no problems installing the driver on 16.04. It recognized it and installed it, but even with the driver installed, the Wi-Fi did not work properly. So I was really miffed. Now, this computer, I had to go out early yesterday morning. I had a lot of running to do. It took my son to the doctor to get the glasses and everything. So I came home and I was really surprised that this machine had showed up. So I actually started working on this machine probably yesterday morning at about 10 o'clock. And I poked at it all day off and on. It's not like it was the only thing that I did, but it was like this thing going in the corner that got my attention. So finally, I sat down last night after trying all this different stuff, and I went, well, do I just pop the Windows drive back in and this is a Windows 7 machine? No. So I decided that I would do something a little bit drastic at this point. And wait for it, because here it comes. I'm going to show you. Linux Mint 17.3. Dun, da, da, da. That is the operating system that is running this computer. And it's actually working very, very well. And I know that in the last couple of months or so, I've kind of said some negative things about Mint here and there, that they hold back packages and they don't update everything, and sometimes it's a little bass-ackwards, but let me tell you what, it saved my butt because it's worked flawlessly on this computer. It works absolutely perfectly. I have no problems with Linux Mint 17.3. This will be supported until 2019, so I can just leave this in place if I want to. Going to take a good hard look at Linux Mint 18, or hope that Ubuntu figures out whatever's going on with the networking and gets that straight. So, but for right now, this does everything that I need it to do. The computer itself has, let me go in here. The computer itself has a 2-core processor, and it's a Core Duo. Like I said, this is a slightly older machine, but it's really clean. It's in really good condition. And the fellow who sold it refurbishes computers. The first time I've bought anything from him, but he's got lots of very positive feedback. He did an excellent job of cleaning up this machine and making sure that everything was the way it was supposed to be. And you can see here on HTOP running that capturing video requires about 50% of each processor. Even though it is only a Core Duo and it's a 2.2 gigahertz Core Duo, it's quite zippy. And the onboard graphics in this machine are actually really, really nice. These are Intel internal graphics. And it's one of the reasons that I bought it was because I knew that the Linux kernel has the proper drivers already in it for this graphics card. The audio, as you probably have already noticed, I'm using the microphone in the computer to record this video. I did not hook up my USB mic. It's the first time that I've actually recorded something on it. I did a test recording before I did this, and it's okay. It's not great. It's fine for Skype, I suppose. It's a very sensitive mic. There's some noise behind it, as you can hear, but it's very sensitive, and it really doesn't matter where you are in the room. You can hear what's going on. So that's kind of what you want for a Skype call anyway. But if I was going to do anything that was really serious, like make a serious video for you guys where I'm not just rambling about a new computer, then I would probably use the USB condenser mic, which is much nicer. And anyway, the big downside to this machine for me is the fact that it does not support 64-bit virtualization. The Core Duo processor does not support virtualization. So that means that I cannot use this particular machine to run virtual machines and test Linux distros. I can set up a virtual machine with a single core processor and have to use a 32-bit system. That's it. So that's a downside. It's something I didn't really think about when I bought the machine, but I just bought this almost on a whim because I kind of needed something now anyway. And let's go ahead and take a look at the info for this machine. System info is definitely what we want. And here it is. This is what Linux Mint reports as the system info. And I can do the Compiz zoom on this machine, but I've got it turned off because it kind of does affect the video performance a little bit. So I have not turned that on, or I would zoom in for you guys. But I got a Core Duo processor here. We've got the internal, what is it, GM45, is that what they are? Graphics. And it's got 4 gigabytes of memory. And I did put in a 500 gigabyte SSHD in this machine. And SSHD, by the way, for those of you who don't know, is a hybrid drive. It's halfway between being in like a solid state drive and a spinning drive. It's actually both built into the same thing. It's got like an 8 gigabyte solid state drive, and it has a little controller in there that attempts to cache the things that you use most often. It actually works quite well, and it will speed up a machine. If you have a machine like this, it takes one hard drive, and you don't, for an old machine like this, you're not going to want to spend $300 on a hard drive anyway. So if you want a big hard drive for the machine, but you want it to be a little faster, a Seagate SSHD is a really nice compromise. So pretty basic. And what else did I want to say about this particular computer? I'm enjoying using the Cinnamon desktop. I'll tell you that. I've always been a fan of Cinnamon. I've got it set where my panel auto hides down there, so if I have something running in full screen mode, see how it comes back. And then I like my panel to be nice and big, so I did that. As far as the background is concerned, this is one of my own photographs. Actually, it's a picture that a friend of mine took he's a pilot, and he was landing in Chicago. And he took this picture right out the cockpit window of the Chicago waterfront. Isn't that a beautiful, beautiful picture there on Lake Michigan? Now, he just grabbed his camera and took a picture. I hope the other pilot, the co-pilot, was the one who was actually landing the plane. I don't like to think of my pilot sitting there just snapping pictures on the approach to the airport. But anyway, thank you, Laurent, for the picture because I like it a lot. What else was I going to talk about this particular computer? I guess that's about it. It's pretty basic. It does exactly what I want it to do, and what I really want it to do is to I want this thing to be able to play videos, and it does it quite well. I have noticed that every once in a while, for whatever reason, you'll get a flicker on the screen, like if you open or close a window. And I don't know whether that seems to be a Linux Mint thing going on. I've never seen that before. I did upgrade the kernel, for those of you who are pretty observant, to 4.2 from 3.19. When you first install Linux Mint, it wants to use kernel 3.19, which at this point is a little long in the tooth, so I went ahead and put 4.2 in it. 4.4 is actually in the list of kernels that you can install for Linux Mint, but I was kind of afraid to do that on this machine. I didn't know whether my my software, my network manager problems may have been because of the kernel, so I didn't bother to do that. But I think I've showed this before, where you can come in here and use the kernel tool in Linux Mint. And I have badmouthed Linux Mint a little bit in the past about holding back certain packages, and like one of the things that will not be updated by default is the kernel. If you want to do that, you're going to have to do it by hand. But they do provide this nifty tool. So for those of you who thought I was harshing on Linux Mint, yeah, I was a little bit, but at the same time, it is a super reliable system, and I love Linux Mint. Kind of wish I could be running Ubuntu Mate here, but I'm not. And the other thing that's a bit of a problem is that a couple of the games that my son likes to play, I know for a fact will not run on this machine. He's going to have his Minecraft, and he's going to have his online games, no problem. Everything works great. It's just going to be hard to run some other stuff. So, oh well, he'll get over it. And the main thing I want it to do is play videos, and it does that quite well. The frame rate, very smooth, very watchable. The machine has really good sound built into it, which is a nice thing. And for a laptop, one of the things that drives me crazy about laptops is the little ones. They have these little bitty tiny speakers in them, and everybody sounds like this. And so if you're trying to watch a video, even just like that drives me up the wall. It's like those big screen TVs that are very thin and they have very tiny speakers in it. Ugh, that drives me crazy. I can't stand it. This laptop actually has pretty decent sound because they've got a little room to put some larger speakers. Now, it's not thumpy bass going on, but for watching a video or just like casually listening to music while you work, not bad. You don't have to pull out your headphones. It's nice. Don't know anything about the battery life on it because I haven't done it. The battery is in good shape, but it's not brand new. So I don't know how long it actually will run with Linux Mint compared to what it would do with Windows. People ask those questions all the time. I very rarely ever run a laptop on a battery. The batteries I have for laptops last forever because I don't use them. So anyway, it is the lovely Cinnamon desktop. You guys know I'm a fan of the Cinnamon desktop. And you can see all the workspaces that I have open here. And then we can switch between desktops. So, very functional, very useful. And it was a lot of fun setting this thing up, except for the frustration of finding something that would actually work. Like I said, at one point I was actually considering popping the Windows drive back in. I was like, maybe it'll only run on Windows. And then I thought, no, I ain't doing that. I don't want to have to open up that can of worms if I don't have to. And probably, to tell you the truth, if this was a Linux install that I was doing for an easy Linux client, I would have told him it didn't work. But I kept poking at it. So anyway, that and one more thing I got to say before I wrap up this video. If you've hung with it this long, then you kind of probably care about what I'm talking about. And I got to be honest with you, I'm a little disappointed with Ubuntu because something happened between when it was in beta and it was so exciting and everything was working to now. People are telling me they have problems with the network like I ran into. People are telling me that the software manager in Ubuntu, the new one that they touted and made a big deal about, that doesn't work very well. I don't know what happened between beta and the official release. It was like in the space of a week, a bunch of stuff on that system broke. And it really doesn't matter what Ubuntu you have. It doesn't matter whether you're running Ubuntu proper or Ubuntu Mate or Ubuntu with the GNOME desktop. Lubuntu, Xubuntu, whatever. It all got kind of screwed up, and I was really scratching my head on that one. It's like, wow, it was working so well in beta. I didn't have any problems with Ubuntu Mate on any of my other machines installing it, and so therefore I guess that was because I installed it when it was in beta. And pretty much all of the installs that I've done for clients, it's been in beta while I was doing it. I really haven't done too many installs after the official release. So I don't know what to tell you, gang. If you try it and it doesn't work, Linux Mint, not a bad choice at this point if you want to just get your machine up and running like I did and get it going. So anyhow, thank you for watching the vid. Thought some of you guys would really enjoy this. And do check out Easy Linux on the web. Check out Easy Linux on Facebook. And if you would, give it a like. And also, check out freedompenguin.com. I got a new article coming up. I wrote up an article about using the secure shell SSH. And that should be hitting Freedom Penguin sometime in the next day or two if it's not already there. That goes along with the video about SSH that I posted. So if you like the video and you want to learn more about it or whatever, check out the article as well. Thanks for watching. We'll do it again soon. Next time, I'll be using a better microphone.